My name is Maddie Cash. If you don't know me, if you're new here, we do this every first and third Tuesday of the month. It's a new topic every time. So if you have ideas, please share them with either myself or Graham, or just send them to info@mntownships.org. We always appreciate receiving any ideas from you guys because we want to give you the information that you want to hear. I'm actually going to pass it over to Gussie in a little bit here, and then Steve is going to take over because I have a sick child that I need to go pick up from school. But first, before I do that, and before we get into today's topic, I just want to take a moment to clarify and correct something from an article in the Insider that was incorrect information. We also included it in the next Insider. It's on our website, and I've reached out to townships that have kind of been confused about it as well personally. So we're trying to correct the error as much as we can. But in the article, I wrote that under the new law in Minnesota, statute 471.3422 regarding change in website domain, the article didn't clarify that the .gov domain only applies to townships that administer absentee voting, not just have a website. So that was a mistake on my part, and I want to be clear about it so there's no confusion. We also, again, put that correction on the website. I've reached out to townships who have had questions about it and that I'm aware of have acted on that misinformation, and that will be in the Insider coming up as well. I take full responsibility for the error. I appreciate you guys having some understanding. My goal is to always give you correct information and accurate information. So I'll make sure that I correct any errors that come up as best I can to avoid any lingering misunderstandings. But I'm grateful that you let me clarify it, and I apologize for any confusion that it caused. But I'm going to pass it on to Steve. If you have any questions, please email either myself or Steve or Graham, and we can clarify that for you as well. Actually, Gussie, I think, is going first, so I'll pass it on to her.
Still muted there, Gussie.
Yeah, all the things I said were really important, so I'm going to just go away now. Hi, everybody. This is Gussie Krupp. I'm a lead trainer here at the Minnesota Association of Townships. I was just going to remind you some about paid leave. We have our deadline coming up. We're going to start taking paid leave out of paychecks starting January 1, 2026. And also people can make a claim starting then. So we need to have that 1 year of history, 4 quarters need to be done. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit here about paid leave. And if I get too long, Steve, holler at me. You know how I go on and on. This paid leave law was enacted in 2023. They updated it last year, and it begins January 1, 2026. The law provides job protections and partial wage replacement paid by the state to individuals who take leave for qualifying conditions, such as to bond with a new child or for medical care for themselves and for their loved ones. Paid leave program will be funded by premiums. In other words, you're going to be paying into this like you do with insurance. And made up of contributions from employees and the employers. And yes, everyone, whether you're an elected official, an employee, appointed person, will be paying into the paid leave. So, and it's available for up to 12 weeks when they make a claim for medical, and up to 12 weeks for family leave, which would be, bonding with the child, caring for a sick child or parent, or for safety reasons, domestic abuse, sexual assault, stalking, individuals, family member, all kinds of things in that realm, and active duty personnel. But I'm going to let you know too that there are some phone numbers, and I will drop them into the chat too, that you can call the Department of Economic, whatever it is, DEED. I can never remember the acronym. The unemployment insurance section of that is going to be handling the questions about paid leave. Their number is 651-296-6141, and you press 4 for customer service. And I'm going to put this all in the chat, so it'll be there. Registration and information is available at uimn.org/employers/index.jsp, and that will also be in the chat. And I'm going to also include some FAQs there for frequently asked questions for individuals and for the employers. So there will be lots of information there. Please go in and get this done so you have those 4 quarters ready. You'll be scrambling in December trying to get this set up. So you want to set up your register for your paid leave. So that's all I have, Steve.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
All right. So I'm going to give Maddie's presentation because Maddie had to go abruptly. She let her kid get sick. So, you know, here I am. You should be seeing my screen. Can somebody confirm that you're seeing this?
I see
Thank
that.
you, Pat. Okay. So what we got is cleanup after a storm. And this is something that comes up. It's, you know, one of the true emergencies that townships have, a cleanup kind of emergency. So we're going to walk through some of the situations that can happen with something like this. If you have questions, Maddie's contacts it. You're welcome to contact me too. Either way. Okay. Maddie's just happens to be on this slideshow. Otherwise, go into the contact section in the web page, find me in there. Our email addresses are always first initial last name at mntownships.org. So real easy to find somebody. Okay. All right. Oh, before we get into that, annual conference, December 11th through the 13th, St. Cloud River's Edge again. This returns to a 3-day format. We've tried different things over the years to try increase participation. We've gone to 2 days, we've done 3 days, we've tried all kinds of things. We're going back to 3 after comment that's what people wanted to see. So we're going to return to the Thursday evening expo. And Friday will be all content, educational content, and a Saturday morning business meeting. So that is coming up. For those interested, please join us. We'd love to see you there. All right. When we get into storm cleanup, townships certainly have a role related to certain lands, okay, but it's not going to be lands that are owned by private property owners. Okay, it's going to be the places where the town has some control, some property interest at stake. The overview here: assess and document, prioritize safety, get to work, okay, and document the work. That's the basic steps that we're going to follow in something like this. I mentioned that when we're dealing with cleanup, we have to be on township property interests. Well, that's obviously a township land that you own and occupy, and that's probably not surprising. No one else is going to come clean that up. But the more difficult concept is within the right of way. That's a shared ownership space. The landowners usually have the underlying land. They own to the center line, right? But the town has this easement sitting over it. From our town perspective, we are responsible for, and we can only work in the right of way. We can't exceed it. And even if they want us to exceed it, chances are we can't or shouldn't, right? And this is based on a court doctrine called the public purpose doctrine. It's not in statute. You can't find the public purpose doctrine anywhere. It's this thing that the courts have come up with because they were asked, well, what makes public spending okay? And through their analysis, they got what we now label as the public purpose doctrine, which says municipal spending is acceptable if 2 things are true, 2 things are found. One is that you have to have some statute authorizing whatever it is the government's about to do. So that could be express, like you read the statute and it very clearly says you may do this, right? You may levy this much, okay? You may specially assess somebody this amount for an improvement to a road. That's very clear, right? But the harder one is when it doesn't say exactly what you need, we have to find an implied power. And all cleanup is an implied power. There is no statute that says you may go out and clean up your roads. It's implied that because you own this piece of property, you may maintain it, and maintenance may include cleanup. Okay. There's no statute that says you may buy a chainsaw, but we can because it's implied through those maintenance references and the fact that you can own it. Okay, so that's the first prong of the public purpose doctrine. We have to find a statute. And when it comes to road cleanup, we're looking at those laws in chapter 160 and 164, and all of those say, town, you can provide this amenity, roads. And in doing that, you get to maintain them. That's our implied authority. Okay, so that's prong number one. Prong number two is, does what you're about to do serve a public purpose? And this is a squishy idea. This does not have a great definition. Okay, the definition, I'll summarize here, is an activity that will amount to a benefit to the public at large and which relates to a function of government. Well, what serves the public at large? Does cleaning a road a quarter mile that leads to one home, does that serve the public, or does that just serve one individual? And everybody on this meeting today may have a different feeling. Okay, so the upside to this is that whether it's a public service is really vested first in the town supervisors. They have some discretion. Okay, and if they have reasons why, a judge is not supposed to come in and second guess and say, well, I don't think that one resident getting a road to their property serves as a public purpose. It's a private purpose. Okay, or vice versa. The town board says, look, we don't feel that road, if we could take it, we're not going to take it because we don't think it serves a benefit to the public at large. Okay, those are perfectly acceptable, but your board will have to consider that kind of thing. Okay, and figure out, do they feel this is a benefit to the public as a body, or is it really just a private interest? Okay, so they should think about this. And I think a lot of people already do. Well, is this something good for the township is kind of what it amounts to. Do we feel this is right for our public? What they're really thinking is this a public benefit? Okay, it's just in the court system, we have to give it a label. Okay, so that's the public purpose doctrine. Two pieces: find a statute, decide if it's in the public's interest, a public purpose to do it. Okay, and obviously we want to avoid liability because it's not fun to get sued. So that right-of-way concept is going to carry us forward, because within our rights of way, we have a few things that can happen during a storm. One of them being trees down. That's an obvious one that comes about. And the question is always, where did that tree start? Where is the base of that tree? If it's inside the right of way, the town is expected to manage that. It becomes a town expense at the beginning. And I'm going to clarify later that a town could put the costs on a landowner, but to begin, it's a town expense. Okay, inside the right of way, our obligation to make it safe for the public, so our expense. Now, if we change those facts a little bit and put that base of the tree on private property, it's outside the right of way and it falls into the right of way. The cost is not supposed to be on the township. But practically speaking, the town is the body that is urgent, feels urgency in opening the road and making it safe, and it has the duty to make it safe. So practically speaking, what happens is when that tree outside the right of way falls in, if the landowner doesn't address it immediately, the town often has to, and those initial costs go on the township. Okay, so inside the right of way, our problem, our cost. Outside of the right of way, shouldn't be our problem, our cost. Sometimes it is, and we can still address that. We have tools to get our money back if we want. Okay, you may need to communicate with landowners, right? About, are they going to get out there and take care of it? Do they want us to do it? Can we communicate with them? If they're an absent landowner, we can't, and that's just tough. Okay, Pat's laughing. So is there a joke there? Is it hard to contact people? Very hard. I kind of figured. Okay, it's hard. Okay, the other reason we have to talk to them is if they want the wood, no matter where it is, if they want the wood, we have to give it to them. That's property that they own, even when it's in the right of way. Okay, so if you cannot speak to them, if you cannot get a hold of them, you have to take that wood and just put it on their property, on the right of way. You can't haul it away or take it, because that's like a theft. It's a conversion. And that sounds silly, but but wood has value. Okay, so we're stuck with that. All right. Remember we said at the beginning, assess and document. This is a place where you assess and document. You take photos. Okay, everybody's got one of these now. It's a wonderful phone. Okay, it's a wonderful camera too. And what's really cool is those pictures, whether you knew it or not, those pictures are putting a geolocate tag. It's putting a GPS location on most of those photos. Okay, so those who know how can find out, oh, this is exactly where you were when you took that photo if it's not otherwise obvious. And that can show, here's what we were dealing with. Here's what was in the right of way. Landowner, this is what we had to deal with. Judge, when we're dealing with a judge, here's what we were looking at. Here's why we had to do something. Okay, that's powerful material. And all it takes is a few clicks on that phone. Please use it. Okay, and then please forward it to your clerk so it goes into some folder of material. Here's what we were dealing with. And if you get FEMA involved, okay, or whatever emergency management system we have, they want that kind of documentation. This is going to help you. So please use that phone and take those pictures, okay? All right. Here's where we got the trees on the private property. It's starting on private and it falls in. Once the stuff inside, technically speaking, you could like find the right-of-way line, cut and deal with just what's in the right-of-way and leave the rest for the landowner. That is perfectly fair. It is not negligent. It is not doing half the job. It is not your job to clean up anything on private property. Okay. One of the questions that often comes up is, well, can we help the landowner out? It's a little lady. She's been there forever. She can't do it. She can't do it. What do we do? I'm sorry. That's wonderful feeling. That's wonderful care for your neighbors. But there is no public purpose in spending town money to go clean up the private property. Okay. That's a different problem. There may be other community solutions, but I'm sorry, not a town government solution. That's just not a purpose for which your government unit can be used. There may be other groups that can do something like that, or individuals happy to go help. But please don't exceed the right-of-way line and start cleaning up something that is purely private. It is a violation of the public purpose doctrine. Okay. And since the supervisors spend the money, it's their responsibility. And if there's a big problem, they could be the ones that have to pay for it in the end. Okay. So there's a timeliness factor here. Go clean up what you need to quickly. Document. So if we want to collect money later, we can. Don't exceed the right of way. Just find that line as best you can. And leave them the wood unless they say take it away. Okay. Those are kind of our big picture points here. I should go back to right-of-way a moment. If you can't tell where the right-of-way line is, take a conservative approach. Don't just assume 66 feet because most roads aren't. Instead, try to figure out, well, where do we think our snow gets thrown when we mow the right-of-way? How wide is that deck? Do we take 1 or 2 passes? Try to figure out how much are we maintaining, because that will probably be the right-of-way line that we can rely on if you're in doubt. Okay. It's a very practical approach to right-of-way. Where are we maintaining to? Okay. What if we don't clean it up? Well, once you have notice of a problem and you've had some reasonable time to react, if you choose not to and somebody gets hurt by that, that is a town liability because we have the duty to maintain a safe roadway. And in liability questions, there's lots of what ifs, there's lots of factors. There's very little that's cut and dry when it comes to liability questions like this, because we don't know what the driver was doing. What was the driver's condition? Were they driving normally? Were they paying attention to their phone and they were distracted? There's a lot of things that affect this analysis. But overall, once something is in the right of way or the roadway, it's our job to make diligent efforts to clean it up. Okay, and again, document. We found out about it this time. We called the contractor at this time. We were told it'll take this long. Okay. You know, we prioritized roads XYZ before we got to that one because those are more commonly used roads. Those have a bus route. Those have a whatever it is. You know your township best and what roads need to be done first. Put it in writing. As difficult as that is, write it down. Take a few minutes, okay? Because that can come back to be really strong evidence to defend you later if we ever have a problem with something like this, okay? Again, those pictures speak very loudly, okay? This is a summary, and I've repeated it, hoping we take these away. Stay in the right of way. Don't leave the right of way, okay? Document, take pictures, write things down, keep them handy, okay? Communicate if you can. It is most helpful to do that. People appreciate it, even if they don't like the results. The communication is helpful, and get those roads cleared out, okay? Now, there's different funding options. One is the town pays for it all, and you know that sometimes is what happens. Okay, routine expenses, that's you. You can use special assessments if you don't have the money, or if landowners weren't taking down trees that were clearly dead. You may feel, you know what, that's a responsibility of the landowner. You shouldn't have put that on the public, so we're not going to subsidize you for something you should have done for a tree that fell into the right of way, right, from outside. There's a whole chapter on special assessments, and they can be very helpful and useful. And a landowner may be upset about it, but ultimately it goes on their taxes. There's not a lot they can do to dispute it if you feel that's appropriate, right? You may have insurance for some things, okay? Now, let's say a tree falls and it hits a barrier on a curve, okay? So it's a road barrier, you know, it's wood posts with a metal curve to try to keep traffic on, right? If a tree falls and strikes that, so I can speak from the Madet perspective, if that barrier is not scheduled and you're not paying premium, it's what's called property in the open. You will not get insurance for it, okay? If you want it covered, you gotta schedule and pay premium for property in the open. That's the stuff out in the world that's not on your town hall site, okay? So if that's important to you, talk to Lisa at Madet about how you cover those things, okay? Because generally insurance doesn't cover that kind of stuff, right? Now on your town hall site, yeah, call your insurer. If it's trees on a building, if it's wind blown stuff, yeah, there's usually coverage for that. That's what you're paying for. That's what you expect, okay? Occasionally disaster relief, and I touched on this a little. There may be FEMA money available, or sometimes state aid, but you got to document. And those can be difficult hoops to jump through. They're very frustrating. Some people get very good at it. Seems those in the southeast of Minnesota have a lot of these issues. They get really good at it because of water damage and flood issues. Okay. So those are kind of your funding options available to you, right? Okay, so what if the tree falls on partly on the road and partly on private property? So participation here, what happens then? Leslie, they can unmute, right?
Can you hear me, Steve?
Yep, everyone
Yes.
can unmute themselves.
Good. Okay, Pat, go ahead.
All right. So if a tree falls partly on the road and partly on private property, you talk to the landowner and you have them clean up their side of the right of way, and we take care of what's on the road and get that cleared.
Very good. Okay, and I like that you added document. Very good. Okay, communicate and document. Okay. All right. Number 2, can the township remove debris from everyone's yard? This is outside the right of way. Anita, don't give the answer away.
No.
Good. Good job, Reno. No, because we don't leave the right of way. The right of way line, that's our boundary, right? And we can't leave that. There's very few instances where you could, okay? And the instances I'm thinking about are washouts, water problems, not trees. Like we have a drainage issue and we have a bigger problem. We're probably gonna need engineering. That's a different scenario. We're gonna get experts involved in something like that. But as a starting point, no, don't leave the right of way. Okay, we stay in our area, and even if you have to leave the right of way for equipment, get permission. Can we cross the line and put equipment there, please? Right? Okay, and do the best you can. Okay. All right. What if the tree falls in the right of way on someone's mailbox? It's vindictive towards the Postal Service. I feel that way now and then. Tree falls on a mailbox. Whose fault? Who pays for the mailbox? Anybody can unmute and jump in. And I can't punish you if you're wrong, so there's no risk here.
I think the mailbox would be the resident's responsibility. We would clean up around the mailbox, but the mailbox would be the resident's responsibility.
Correct. Okay. Now I'm trying to get my zoom back so I can see it here. All right. That is correct. Okay, so just common scenarios. Again, you want to think about proving this later, right? When you get into a dispute. Okay, so keep that in mind. Somebody coming to say you did it wrong. Okay. All right. I'm gonna stop my share. Or it should be stopped, right? You aren't missing.
I kind of want to see your Cookie Monster quote, but we can't see
Oh,
it.
there we go. There we go.
There he is.
Today, me will live in the moment, unless it's unpleasant, in which case me will eat cookie. Chocolate chip cookies are my favorite dessert, so. All right, any questions with anything we just talked about?
Steve, this is Rita. So something you didn't address was something I'll be dealing with later today, sending letters to landowners where they had contractors, or possibly themselves, but usually it's contractors, take debris from interior on the land and deposit it at the edge of the road because they didn't understand that they weren't in the city of Bemidji, and Bemidji was picking up all of this, right? They were doing
Okay.
storm debris pickup,
Okay.
and we aren't the city of Bemidji, and so
Right.
that material continues to sit there. So I'm
Right.
sending letters out. Hopefully you agree that I'm sending letters out to say, hey, so when are you going to move this? And, you know, contact me, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to have to move it back for safe and effective snow removal.
Absolutely. Yes. So that's an obstruction, and just generally we categorize this as obstruction, and it sounds like they have a good reason or excuse, right? Okay. We're assuming they didn't put it there, you know, oops, I didn't know, right? That they just made the mistake. So that's great. We do have a sample right-of-way violation notice that we put online some time ago, and I'm gonna drop the link here for you, okay? Copy link. I'll put it in the chat. It's on the webpage in the information library, town road section, and it's the last one, TR 21,000. TR 21,000 sample right-of-way violation notice, and it's meant to be a check the box kind of like, here's what your problem is, you know, and you give them a deadline. The deadline is important, okay, because otherwise it will languish. And if you feel that they have and it shouldn't be a long time, right? I mean, especially if the debris is not a whole lot, okay? Because you know it's there. We have notice now. So if there's a problem and we didn't diligently, you know, show our diligent attempt to get it removed, we face liability for problems as townships. So you gotta give them the deadline, and if they don't, okay, fine, we'll get our contractor out there, but heads up, we're sending you the bill or specially assessing. That tends to get people going, you know, a little bit, okay, on something like that. So
We're trying to start out less harsh than that.
Sure. So in this letter, you know, it can come off harsh, and maybe this isn't the letter you want. Okay, or you put a letter with it, hey, sorry to, you know, let you know this, sorry for the confusion, but we just don't have the capability to do this. So please let your contractor know they've made a mistake, or please take care of this, right? That's fine. Depending on how many it is, if there's a lot of folks, it's not practical to contact them all. Usually when we have something that's an obstruction, it's a one-off. And we suggest, yeah, if you can talk to that person or know someone who knows that person, to go talk to them, just have the conversation. It comes off a lot better than the letter. You have violated and you will do this by this date, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so-
Our letter is, please call me and
Sure,
tell me what you're
sure.
doing, and
Yep,
let's have that conversation.
yep, that's just fine. Thank you for the addition, good.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Gussie,
I've got one, Steve. So it's township, a joint township road. You have debris down from a storm or whatever. You have shared responsibility, or maybe every other year responsibility, and it's your year. So you're going to be notifying the other township residents also, is that correct? That you're
Yes.
doing cleanup? Okay,
yes.
thank you.
So the town road statute, the joint town road statute, road on a town line, this is 164.12 gives us our framework, because that's the statute, and it says we're supposed to divide fairly. The work should be fairly divided. So Gussie, if they take it half and half, if they take it 1/3 to one township because it's harder to maintain, the other township has 2/3, fine. If they have one assigned to do it all, okay, fine. If they take every year, these are all options for them to accomplish. They just have to come to an agreement to fairly distribute the work. The costs are supposed to be equal. There's a difference between fair and equal. Okay, those are different concepts. Okay, so whoever it is should be accounting for their cost on that road, and they should split that bill. Okay, that should be how it works. Practically, who contacts who is probably best left, locally. Who's going to do it? They're just going to say, Township A, you have the northern half of this road, so you contact everybody. Or is it the case that maybe each township has better relationships with their own people, and they feel it's going to get the most positive experience if they contact them? I don't know. That's best left to the people who know those folks and know them on the ground. So that's the approach I take. Reno, your hand is up.
Steve, would you please give that statute again,
164.12, and I'll put it in the chat as well. This is the town line road statute, and it provides a requirement. There's a requirement that a lot of towns don't do to make a contract, an agreement with their neighboring township for their roads. Unfortunately, it is not the same law when you have a city as your neighbor. When it's a city, it is optional if the city wants to make a contract with you. Okay, and then towns tend to get hosed. So, city favoritism there. And we do have a sample town line road resolution or town line road agreement. I'll put that link into. This is TR 11,000, town roads 11,000, and it is a sample contract that the townships could use, and it follows the statute. Okay, again, we've tried to do the work for you to put the contract together. You got to fill in the blanks. Some folks just sign them without filling in the blanks. I promise you that contract is not good when you don't put the terms in there. So read it. It's a short one. Okay. Please don't ask me to take things out. It's really short. Everything is in there for a good reason. So take a look at it. If you have town line roads and you don't have a contract, get one. It just puts on paper what the expectations are, and you can change this later by mutual agreement of the boards. That's all fair game. Anything else? Okay, I don't see anything else. Okay, thank you everybody for attending. I hope this was informative and that I kept you moving fast enough. And so thanks for being here. We'll see you in 2 weeks.